Hello everyone. In today's video on William Shakespeare's play As You Like It, we will take up the paraphrase of Act 4. So far we have completed the three acts of the play and today we shall begin with the fourth act. Act 4, Scene 1 takes place in the forest of Arden. Enter Rosalind, Celia and Jax. Jax approaches Rosalind in order to get better acquainted with her, and Rosalind she calls Jax a melancholy fellow, and Jax accepts this specification of Rosalind, and he says that he likes sadness better than merrymaking, and to which Rosalind replies that she believes that those who go to extremes, either in joy or in sorrow, are abominable fellows. That is, they are hated. And then she says that they thus expose themselves to the satire and ridicule of the world more than the drunkards themselves. And to which Jax replies that he feels that it is better to be sad and silent. And then Rosalind replies that in that case, one would not be better than a pillar or a. Now, Jax here goes on to explain that his melancholy is very different from the others, and he says that it is neither the scholar's melancholy, which is that of jealousy, nor is it the musicians, which is fantastical, nor it is the courtiers, which is proud, and neither he has the melancholy of a soldier, which is ambitious, nor that of a lawyer, which is diplomatic, and nor that of a woman, which is graceful, nor that of a lover, which is a combination of all these. He says that his melancholy is uh, uh, is compounded of many simples, and it is inspired by many experiences and travels. Now, Rosalind, she says that she would rather she would rather have a fool make her happy than experience make her sad. So at this point, Orlando enters and Jax he departs. Now, when Orlando enters, Rosalind scolds him for missing the meeting before, and then she says that he is already late, and to which Orlando replies that he is late only by a minute. That is, he says that, but my sweet Rosalind, don't you see that I have come within 1 hour of the time of our appointment? Now, here Rosalind, she says that to break an hour's promise in love, he that will divide a minute into 1,000 parts and break but a part of the 1,000th part of a minute in the affairs of love, it may be said of him that Cupid had clapped him on the shoulder, but I will warrant him heart whole. So Rosalind, she says that if you divide a minute into 1,000 parts and break your appointment of the extent even of this 1,000th part, you will be in a position of the person whose shoulder has been broken by Cupid. Cupid is the god of love. But otherwise, she says that I assure you that your heart will be quite all right. Now, then Orlando asks Rosalind to forgive her, to excuse her for once, and then Rosalind says that I wish I were courted by a snail rather than by a man like you. And then the conversation between the two go on, goes on, and Rosalind, she says that she asks Orlando to woo her, and then Rosalind, she says, and I am your Rosalind. All right, come on now and quote me daily, because at present I am in a merry mood, and so you may surely win me. Now suppose for a moment that I am your own Rosalind, whom you love so very fondly, and what would you address me as? To which Orlando replies that he would first like to kiss before addressing. But then Rosalind says that it is better to address first, and she says that if one is short of words, that is, if one begins to feel like as if he is losing words, then he might take the occasion to kiss. So Rosalind says, nay, you were better speak first, and when you were gravelled for lack of matter, you might take occasion to kiss. Very good orators, when they're out, they will spit, and for lovers lacking God warners matter, the cleanliest shift is to kiss. Now Orlando then says that what is one to do if the beloved refuses to be kissed? In that, Rosalind replies, in that case, she requests you to beg for a kiss, and this no doubt gives you an opportunity to argue. So the conversation further moves on forward, and uh, then Orlando, he says that I don't think it is possible for anyone not be able to find words when he is in the presence of his beloved. Now here, when the conversation is going on between the two, Orlando says, I take much pleasure in addressing you, Rosalind, because it gives me an opportunity to talk of her. Both of them, uh, they continue pleasing each other, and then Orlando, he says that, well, then I have nothing else to do than to die, and to which Rosalind replies that don't do so. If you really wish to die, then better get someone to do so for you, because so far as I know, no one in the world, which is more than 6,000 years old, has ever died in his own person in the cause of love. So Rosalind, she says to Orlando, the poor world is almost 6,000 years old, and in all this time there was not any man died in his own person in a love cause. Troilus had his brains dashed out with a Grecian club, yet he did what he could to die before, and he is one of the patterns of love. Leander, he would have lived many a fair year, though Hero had turned none, if it had not been for a hot midsummer night for good youth, he went but forth to wash him in the Hellespont, and being taken with the cramp was drowned, and the foolish chroniclers of that age found it was Hero of Sestos. But these are all lies. Men have died from time to time, and worms have eaten them, but not for love. So Rosalind, she is trying to tease Orlando here, and as Ganymede, she says to Orlando that there is no man who has ever died in his own person because of love. And then she gives two examples. She gives the examples of Troilus. She says that Troilus, a great lover, died from the club of his enemy, who broke his head. Although Troilus made several attempts to die by himself in the cause of love. So Troilus, who is considered to be the model lovers, he also did not die because of love. As for Leander, he also died a natural death by drowning in the Hellespont. And if he would have lived a long time, even if Hero had become a nun in a monastery. So Leander one hot day went to bathe and was drowned because of being attacked with cramp. Now, the foolish coroners of the age said that Leander died in an attempt to swim in order to reach Sestos, where Hero lived. But Rosalind then she says that, but this is not so, the story is not true, and that many men have died in this world from time to time, and their bodies have been food for the worms, but none of them has ever died for love. Now, Orlando here, he says that I wish my Rosalind will not be thinking in this manner, because I know that if she looks with disfavor on me, I will surely die from it. Now, here again, Rosalind teases Orlando and she says, on my word, I say that her looks cannot kill even a small insect. So, Rosalind says, by this hand, it will not kill a fly. But come now, I will be your Rosalind in a more coming on disposition, and ask me what you will, I will grant it. Now, further, when Orlando is trying to Rosalind, Rosalind then says to Celia, that is her sister, she says, come on now, sister, be a priest. So she asks Rosalind to act as a priest, and she says that you shall be the priest and marry us. Give me your hand, Orlando. What do you say, sister? So then Orlando, he says that yes, he is pleased, and he asks Celia to marry both of them. But then Celia says that I do not know the formula, and Rosalind says that you should begin by saying, will you, Orlando, take Rosalind as your wife, says Celia. And Rosalind says yes, or Orlando says yes, by all means. And Rosalind then says that in that case, Orlando should reply as, I accept you, Rosalind, as my wife. So uh, while this conversation goes on, Rosalind further says that I might ask for your commission, but I do take the Orlando for my husband. There is a girl goes before the priest, and certainly a woman's thought runs before her action. Orlando says, so do all thoughts, they are winged. Now, Rosalind here again teases Orlando, and she says that we know well that men are very anxious when they are courting and wooing, but as soon as they once get married, they grow cold and indifferent. Maidens too are happy when they are unmarried, but once they wed, they no longer remain so. I assure you, Orlando, I'll grow more envious to you when married than a wild pigeon is jealous of his her. I will chatter more noisily than a parrot does when it rains. I will be more unreliable in my whims than a monkey. I will be always shedding tears for no good reason, just as the statue of Diana does in the fountain. And what is worse, I will be weeping when you are merry. And on the contrary, I will laugh like a hyena when you are sad and want to sleep. Now, here Rosalind, uh, she's teasing Orlando, and at this Orlando, he says that, but do you say that my own Rosalind will also do like this? To which Rosalind, Ganymede replies that she will exactly do like this. But Orlando defends Rosalind, and he says that Rosalind is a wise girl. So to this, Rosalind replies that her wisdom itself will make her do thus. If not, she might keep silent for want of intelligence. So I say, if one is wiser, one will be more whimsical. So she's continuing teasing Orlando. If you close the door of a woman's wit, it will come out of the windows. If you shut those, then it will leak out at the keyhole. Even if you stop that, why, it will only be going out with the smoke from the chimney. Now, Rosalind, here then Orlando, he says that a man whose wife possessed such ingenuity as that might well demand what she meant by it. She would certainly very great ingenuity to explain such an action as that. Then Orlando, he says, well now my sweet Rosalind, I will be away from you for some 2 hours. And he has to attend the Duke at dinner, and so Orlando leaves, promises he leaves. He takes leave and he promises Rosalind that he will return by 2 o'clock. So here in this scene, we see that Jax, he continues to fail in his attempt to match Touchstone's foolishness, and here the difference between Jax and Touchstone is pointed out. We see that Touchstone is experienced and joyous, whereas Jax is experienced and sad. And again, this explains that how melancholy is a form of a wisdom. Mm. But it just makes it clear that Jax, he is an unpleasant companion and an unsuccessful fool. Now Rosalind in this scene, disguised as Ganymede, she gets in conversation with Orlando and she creates a humorous effect. Orlando, while talking to Rosalind, describes what he would do if he were talking to Rosalind, unaware that he's actually talking to her. So, this play acted marriage foreshadows the actual marriage at the end of the play, and at the same time, it allows Rosalind to enjoy marrying the man she loves. So here this very amusing conversation takes place between Rosalind and Orlando.